I've made well over 25 million views just by making Gorilla Tag thumbnails for people. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. And step 1 to making a viral Gorilla Tag thumbnail is the idea. And all you have to do is follow these 3 simple rules. With number 1 being simple. If there's too much going on, people won't be able to understand what's happening and won't end up clicking on your video. Which brings me to number 2 being curiosity. You want to leave the viewers question the thumbnail, like what is going on and why is it happening, or maybe just making them interested. And now number 3, which is color theory and contrasting. You want to make sure that the colors don't blend with each other and they contrast well to make each object in your thumbnail stand out. Now you could also take inspiration from other thumbnails that did well, but just don't copy them. And with that, let's move on to step number 2, where I'll be actually showing you how to make the thumbnail. And in order to do that, we'll need to download a software called Blender, which you can download from either their website or get it through Steam. And once you've downloaded Blender, the first thing you want to do is open up your browser and type in Gorilla IK Rig. Then press on this GitHub link, and now you're gonna go to releases and click on the latest version of the rig. Then you want to go down to the assets and download the blend file. And we're now back in Blender, and what I want to do is go down here and press open and find the Gorilla IK rig. And once we're in, we're gonna press Z and go to render it, and then you can actually see the texture of the gorilla. Now this light setup is not very good, so I'm gonna teach you how to make this rig look 100 times better. But there's a few things we need to do first. We're gonna go to render and scroll down to color management right here, and make sure the view transform is set to filmic and the look is at very high contrast. Then you wanna go to the output right here and change this file format to PNG. And then you wanna set the color to RGBA instead of RGB, because that enables a transparent background. And to get a transparent background, we're gonna go back to render, scroll down to film, and press transparent. And there we go. Now what we're gonna do is delete this light up here by clicking here and pressing X to delete it. And now for the world lighting, we're gonna turn it all the way down and go in render settings again. And then instead of having the render engine on Eevee, we're gonna put it to cycles. Now cycles is gonna have much nicer lighting, which is gonna be way better for thumbnails. But if cycle is laggy for you, you're gonna go up to edit, preferences, and go down to system and make sure it's on optic instead of none. Also down here, make sure it's on GPU complete. And now you wanna press Shift A to add a light right here, and then duplicate it by pressing Shift D. Then go in Z view up here, rotate it the opposite way, and move it over here. Now we have 2 main light sources, but it still doesn't look the best. And to fix that, we're basically just gonna right click and press shade smooth, and that's gonna shade smooth our gorilla and make him look much nicer. You could also change the fresnel factor, which I usually put at 0.07, and then I'm gonna make the color pure white. Now we could add a bit more light, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And now I'm gonna use a secret technique that nobody uses. So I'm gonna select the light one by one, and then shift click the rig. Then I'm gonna press Control Tab to go in post mode. And now I'm gonna click the arm bone, since that's where the light is. Then I'm gonna press Control P and bone, and go down here to make parent and press keep transform. And I'm gonna just do that with every single light, and I'll see you when I'm back. And what this really does is if I move the character, the lights are gonna follow it, which saves so much time. So subscribe if you didn't know that. And since the rig is done now, we can actually make the thumbnail. So let's say your thumbnail is a guy getting chased by a lava monkey. So first of all, you would want the character to actually look like he's running. Something like this looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna press Shift A and add a camera. Now this step is really important. Since you want really good camera positioning, you really need to think where to place your characters. And in this case, he's getting chased by a lava monkey. So I'm gonna have mine like over here. And now I'm just gonna copy everything in the rig by pressing Shift D and move it over here. Then I'm gonna click on the character, go down to material right here. And now I'm gonna duplicate this material so I can make this a lava monkey. And to do this, we're gonna press this little image right here. And then the material is gonna be duplicated. And to achieve the lava monkey look, we're gonna scroll down and slide this lava value all the way up. And there we go. The positioning is now all done. And to get a preview on how it would look in an actual thumbnail, we're gonna select the camera and click on the camera settings right here and scroll down to viewport display and pull this blue slider all the way up. Then we're gonna press this thing up here to disable all the lights. And there we go. It looks pretty good. And now the next step is to make the background. And it's actually more easy than people think, because all we're gonna do is press Shift A, add a plane, scale it up like this, make a new material, name it grass, change the base color to our image texture. Now press open and get a grass texture, which you can find on Sketchfab. And since this texture is pixelated, we don't want it to be blurry like this, so we're gonna switch it from linear to closest. Now we could add a sun to really lighten up the grass. There we go. Now we're gonna select the plane, then we're gonna go in UV editing up here and change this to UV editor. Then we're gonna press A in here and then press S to scale it up. And there we go. That looks pretty good. And now I'm gonna add the brick wall from Gorilla Tag. I'm gonna press Shift A, make it a plane, and I'm just gonna move it back here, make it super big like that, and get the wall texture from Sketchfab. And now we're pretty much done with the blender part. So now I'm gonna render everything separately, and I'll see you in Photoshop. And if you don't have Photoshop, there's a free alternative called Photopea, which I'll link in the description, and it's basically like Photoshop but more user friendly, so you can still follow along in this tutorial. And now you want to make a new project and make sure the width is 1280 and the height is 720, because that's the YouTube thumbnail size. And you want to import the background first, and then I'm going to import the lava monkey next because he's behind the character, and then I'm going to put the main character in. So the first thing I'm going to teach you is how to shade. I'm going to grab the burn tool over here and make a new layer down here. Press Ctrl-Alt-G to make it a clipping mask. Then I'm going to get a gray color with the hex code 808080 and make sure it's on the bottom color layer down here. And with the layer selected, we're going to press Ctrl-Backspace, which is going to fill the entire layer with gray. Now you want to go down here and change the blending mode to overlay, and what that allows us is to shade on the character with the burn and dodge tool. And since the main light source is coming from above, I'm going to add a bit of shadows underneath here, just like that. Here as well, a little bit here. Make this a little bit brighter. Now I'm going to make this chest for a little bit brighter, and there we go. That's pretty much basic shading. And a little tip for shading is you gotta think where the light source is coming from. For example, in this scene, the light source is coming from above, which means the shadows are gonna be beneath and not above. Just keep that in mind and shade it as realistic as possible. And I'm also gonna shade the lava monkey by redoing all the steps we did earlier. There we go. Now I'm gonna make a brand new layer and get an orange brush over here. Then I'm gonna scale it down and put the opacity a bit down as well, also the flow. Now I'm gonna change the blending mode to linear dodge add, which is gonna allow us to make glow. Just gonna draw it a bit like this. There's some pretty nice glow. It's of course not needed, but sometimes it can make it look really good. Just don't overdo it. And as you can see, there's no shadows on the ground right now. To fix that, we're just gonna make a new layer and repeat the same steps we did for the shading, but just do it with shadows this time. And since the character is running, we're gonna duplicate these two layers by selecting both of them and pressing Ctrl-J, and then we're gonna right click it and press convert to smart object. And once we've done that, we're gonna go to filter, blur, and motion blur and put the distance to around 10 to 20. Now it doesn't really look that good right now, but that's because it's on the entire character, so we're gonna have to erase a lot of it. Now we're just gonna move it a bit like this, and then it should look a lot better like that. And now we could do the exact same with the lava monkey. There we go. And just to spice things up, we're gonna press T to add a new text layer. And for this thumbnail, since the blue guy is running away from the other guy, I'm gonna change the text to 100 times speed, scale it up like this, and now we're gonna double click the layer down here and just mess around with these settings. And now to spice things up, we're gonna select the bottom layer right here and select the top layer, which is in the text. Then we're gonna press Ctrl-J to duplicate it and right click it and press convert to smart object. Then we're gonna go to filter and camera raw filter, and now we're gonna mess around with these settings until it looks good. Then we can put the vibrance up and the saturation, and it already looks way better. Now we can mess around with the texture over here and the clarity, maybe a little bit of dehaze, maybe sharpen it a little bit as well, and there we go. That is way better. And now to make sure that this thumbnail is good, we're gonna have to use something called rule of thirds, which means the focus object has to be in one of these X's right here. And since people see thumbnails from left to right, you're gonna want to have the most important stuff on the left and other stuff at the right. If it's your branding, then you should put it on the left instead of the right, so people know that it's your thumbnail and video. And I'll post this rig and PSD that I used in this video in my Discord, so make sure to join that.